welcome to another Sabbath conversation. In this video, I wanted to speak about or have a conversation about nation building and how it has different rules. Because in nation building, we do have the dynamic of polygyny. And I think a lot of times when people speak, those who value monogamy over polygyny, they more so speak about this sort of culture from the lenses of monogamy. And so in this video, I just want to share and just make it very clear that polygyny abides by a different set of rules, so we can't view it through the same lenses. And I'll just share as well. I just lost my train of thought. I should have turned these notifications off before I went live, but it's okay. I'm going to get more into it, but I wanted to share that there is nothing wrong with polygyny. There are cultures who practice polygyny, so there's nothing wrong about that sort of lifestyle. It's really the people themselves. Is how it's a. I always go back to character. Is how a person behaves. So the main point that I want to drive home in this conversation is that I'm speaking about the sisterhood aspect of it and our role as women and what we do. And when it comes to polygyny, teamwork is required, and it doesn't come automatically just because you decide like, oh, I want to engage in this sort of lifestyle and this culture of polygyny. That means I'm automatically like I'm a team player. No, it doesn't mean that. It actually reveals if you naturally are cooperative, naturally like to work with a team, naturally have love for another sister. And so if you have dysfunctional female relationships, then gathering all of those sisters inside of a polygynous situation will not work. It will be chaotic. Just like you get two unwhole people that come together, two broken people that come together, their monogamous relationship is going to be chaotic. And so there's no difference. It's just one, there's just two, there's just one man, one woman, and another, there's man and multiple women. And so there's nothing wrong with it. So, but this video, I'm not defending that sort of culture. There's yeah. When it comes to that, we should look at the results as opposed to just expressing our own personal opinion, because other cultures that practice it, they do just fine. So, but it's the people. So first point I want to share, like I just wanted to go through like some points of what is considered teamwork and what that looked like in a polygynous dynamic. So when I speak about teamwork, I'm not speaking about performance, because some sisters, they may perform this because they know that this is how they get in good favor or get attention from the man, from their husband. But when it comes to like having genuine teamwork, is having a genuine desire to work with other sisters. Okay, whether that's, and that can look all sort of different ways. So that could be, let's say, I'll give some examples. Let's say creating a family garden or planning a trip. These sisters are naturally coming together and they're planning it because they have a desire to. They're like, oh, let's do this. Oh, you want to do this? Okay, so you're gonna be in charge of this, and I'm gonna do this. And okay, you book in the hotel rooms. Okay, where we gonna stay? There's this like excitement and cooperation and collaboration, and so there's that genuine desire. But I've noticed like some women in polygynous situation, they turn it on and off. They'll perform it. So like if the man is around, it's turned on. Or they may have that dynamic with a sister, but when the man is around, they either turn it off. So it can be either or. So also the cooperation and teamwork comes when a new sister come in, she's putting her up on game. She's sharing with her, all right, let me tell you like how things go here. He don't like this, he don't like that. And although that sister has her own individual relationship with him, like if she's new, she's not going to have as much wisdom and experience that the other sisters do. So like if she's wise, she's going to want to listen. They may be like, okay, when you come in the house, he don't like when you do this. And you're like, okay, thank you for telling me, because I want to make sure that I'm moving in alignment and with how I should be. I don't want to bring any issues or any problems. So And what woman doesn't want to please, her husband, and make sure that she's honoring him and respecting him and respecting his home. So also another aspect of teamwork when it comes to women in the polygyny is the communication aspect. So communication is very important. You're gonna always have to communicate about how you feel about something, what's going on. This is very important. This can be, sometimes you may need to reassure a sister. So let's say that she expresses to you like, oh, I really would like to spend some time with him alone because I'm trying to get back in. We actually had like some tension happening and there's been some distance, so I need to kind of like repair that. So do you mind if I just kind of share like just some time with him on this day, and I want to go out to the park or whatever? And that sister, like, hearing her perspective, like, oh, I can understand that because things are probably good with her and her relationship, with the head. So she's probably like, all right, I understand that. I understand that. And so you may, as a sister, if you value sisterhood, you may have to sacrifice your time so that another sister can get that time in. And this is all okay. Inside of this Hebraic culture, there's no offense. It's not. There's nothing wrong with that because at the end of the day, when it comes to being in a inside of a polygynous dynamic and inside of a culture that views it a certain type of way through the lenses of like kingdom building and nation building, you realize like, okay, the man likes being around multiple women. So there's only so much alone time he's probably going to want to spend with just one, because then it starts to go into monogamy and he's not monogamous. So it's like a sister can rest assured that, okay, when he is spending alone time, it doesn't take away from her value. It doesn't mean that it's something wrong with her. It doesn't mean that he wants to spend more time with that other sister and doesn't want to spend time with you. Because, as sisters, as women, we may think the worst. But that doesn't mean that. But if you just keep in your head, like, no, this is a polygynous man. He loves all of the women that he's with. So me feeling like, oh, he liked this one more, liked this one better, is just not accurate. I can see if he was a monogamous man, that may be true. He may just like one woman and only her and not have eyes or like anything about any other women. Although, personal opinion, I don't think that's true. But this is a talk about our culture and value and honoring the fact that men can love more than one woman and do like naturally, whether they live in this culture or not, they like to interact with other women. Period. So in a Hebraic culture, they just embraced what was natural. So again, this is not a talk about trying to convince anybody, but it's just speaking about just offering my perspective through the lenses of living inside of this culture. So all right. So next point, I did post a clip on Instagram, and someone had posted a really interesting comment. They shared that when it comes to teamwork, women do like they in order to bring down a man, they sure like to team up to do that. And I was like, that's a really great point. That's a really great point, because when it comes to like, okay, let's come together and bring this person down, make sure that they don't do this and they don't do that. Oh, you need to get away from him, sis. He only gonna bring you down, and you gotta make sure you get your own money. Like, I can go on and on about the different things that could be said, but they'll team up to go against the man. Well, he's a narcissist. Oh yeah, sis, you need to get away from him. He's no good. Oh no, you need to worry about focus on yourself. Make sure you get your bag, whatever. Make sure you love yourself. You don't need to worry about him because he ain't no good anyway. He's a narcissist. He only worries about him. He's so selfish. He wants his cake and eat it too. All sorts of negativity. They'll team up for that, right? They'll team up to go against. But in a Hebraic culture, they teamed up to be for that man, not to go against. So it's just the opposite. It's just the opposite. So women, they do like to team up naturally. Some women, they do like to team up, and if they have a mission, that like it's funner. It's funner too. It's funner to build with other sisters who you can speak about certain things, share more intimate details with that sister that you can't just share with someone who's a friend, who's a part of another family. You can't disclose certain things that are private, that should be kept sacred and should be kept private within a household. You can't share that with your female friends because you're keeping what goes on inside of that house private and sacred. It's not for other people's ears to like be absorbing and hearing, and for other people to give their opinion on. So when you have sisters inside of the same home, there is a deeper level of intimacy because you get to share certain details and be more vulnerable and have a deeper connection than a female friendship. So it's like is that much more. It can be that much more fulfilling, depending on what type of relationship you want to have with other women. All right, so then I want to go into like the selfishness. Sometimes teamwork does not happen because of selfishness. That's the reason. And I'll share like some examples, like when a sister's energy change all of a sudden in the presence of the man. So that happens where she just changed all up. She may be like herself, totally relaxed with you, but as soon as he come around, she's acting totally different. And it's because in that moment she's wanting a certain experience or wanting something to happen. So she's just thinking about herself. She's not thinking about the sister no more. She's in her own world thinking about other stuff. So then that's when the selfishness comes in, it pulls away from the teamwork because then the communication stops. She's not communicating with that sister. Um, she's after her own gains. She's after her own desires and stuff, and whatever's going on in her head. You can only assume because she's not communicating with you. And so, um, and so she may like, and just to give a visual what this looks like, she may like, instead of communicating with you directly, with the other sisters directly, she may speak directly to head and ask him questions and completely ignore you. So no, there's no cooperation, but she doesn't want to speak to that other sister. So she'll ask the husband like, what are we supposed to be doing again? I thought when are we going, to that conference or whatever? What day was it? And it's like, that's not a question you needed to ask him, but because you're not communicating with other sisters, she may know you're not asking her first, because you're purposely like, okay, I don't want nothing to do with her. I just want this to be me and him at this point. That's what the selfishness looks like, and the lack of cooperation. Also, this can come out in her body language. Some sisters, like, if she's in the presence with other sisters in the room, she may, pull her body language away from the other sisters, no longer engaging with them and totally focus on the man. She may not even look, she'll try not to look at them. She may not look at them, or, like give them eye contact. She, turn her body away from them, and she may not even address them by name. Doesn't address them at all, so that those are ways where it's like becomes something else, becomes selfish, and something else is happening. It's like, okay, this sister is not cooperating, doesn't want to be in the presence of another sister. And sometimes this happens like when jealousy or some sort of insecurity arise. Something is happening with that woman internally, but she's not communicating that. So that's where, and I'll get into like how honesty and vulnerability is important inside of a polygynous dynamic, and how it relates to like being having a beautiful dynamic of teamwork and cooperation. And so, okay, so she stops communicating, right? Um, and I gave the example. So yeah, those were pretty much like the points. And it's not just selfishness; it's emotional immaturity as well, because she's not expressing her emotions. She's not expressing how she's feeling, and so I'll go ahead and get into the next point. It's not, like I said, it's not the polygyny or polygynous dynamics that are wrong. It's what's going on with the individual that can create the problem. So, like I was saying, lack of vulnerability. Um, so, in a case where a sister is not communicating with her sister anymore, she's not being vulnerable and sharing, like, what's really going on with you? Like, how are you feeling? Like, why are you acting this way? You need to communicate what it is that you want. And so that I can understand, and so that I can like meet you halfway with something if needed. If something is going on, maybe she did have a tense conversation, with the husband, and she just like, man, I'm going through it right now. And instead of sharing that with you, she'll kind of like ignore you because she's like, oh man, everything's all good with her, but I'm going through it. And it's like when you have that lack of like vulnerability, it's like it doesn't create a deeper connection and a closer bond. It creates distance, and then it creates like hostility because now this is like, you just ignore me. Now she's offended based on how the other sister is acting, all because that sister's going through something and not communicating. Now the sister that's on the receiving end of that sister not communicating with her, ignoring her, not, addressing her properly, acting like she doesn't exist. Now that sister's offended, like, hey, that's so messed up. That is so messed up. And it's so obvious, like, if a sister is performing it as well, you kind of know, like, you don't act like that when it's just me and you. So why is it that when he's around, now all of a sudden you changed? You know what I'm saying? That's how you know when it's performance versus a genuine desire that that sister has to be a part of a family, structure. And I did want to share the point. This is when the sister is trying to insert the views of monogamy inside of a polygynous dynamic. So she's trying to create a situation like, okay, now I'm having a monogamous dynamic. This is just between me and him. Nobody else exists. This is our relationship. It becomes that. And that just doesn't work because when it comes to like polygyny, it's a familial family energy. For those who come from large families, let's say, I know I had a lot of sisters. Like, let's say you had a lot of sisters inside of a household with your parents, and you know how the dynamic was. Polygyny is sort of similar. The feeling that you have with like your sisters, your biological sisters, you're gonna have with the sister wives. You're gonna have that with them. It's the same type of like familiar energy, like, oh sis, like it feels like this person is your sister, like for real. And the reason why it's a sister wife, because of course you all are with the same, husband, of course. So but the focus should be on family. You just have more people that is working towards a larger purpose and a larger mission. And some women may say like, well, the selfishness also comes back in too, because women, like I said, they insert monogamy. They might start saying like, you don't spend enough attention, enough time with me. And I'll touch on this. Polygyny is different. Like the sisters inside of this culture were not as focused on receiving attention in that way. Our attention comes through the whole entire family spending time together. That's where everybody gets attention. It's like having a party. Like when you're having a good time with everybody, you're not wanting to just spend time with one person. You're having fun with everybody. Everybody is interacting. You may go over to another sis like, hey sis, what you doing over here? You may walk over to another sis like, hey, what you doing? Oh, so you're interacting with everybody. You interact with the head like, oh, hey, you may give him something and he's looking at you and he's doing something, with another sister, or he may come up to another sister and stuff. So it's like, that is the sort of, there is attention that everyone is getting. It's just that if you approach it from a monogamous perspective and look at it through those lenses and you want monogamy and you're selfish, you just want all the attention to be on yourself, then it's just not going to work. Nation building has different rules. Also, all of the sisters is focused on a higher purpose. It's not all about, I want to constantly be a servant and receive from this man all the time. Like, I may be focused on my business. I may be focused on going to school. I may be focused on working on a project. So I'm not sitting there waiting for a man to give me attention. And or you may plan it like, okay, I won't say plan it, because then that becomes like unnatural, but you'll communicate like, all right, I've been working, I want to spend some time, with my head, I want to spend some time with my husband now. And so you communicate that like, hey sis, I've been working hard, y'all mind? And then you may like communicate, y'all mind if I get some alone time? I've been working hard. Or you may need to have a private personal conversation, and you're like, okay, I need that one-on-one time. You may communicate like, all right sis, I would like to go on, on this date real quick, or whatever you call it. I like to go out, I need to have a conversation with him. And if you really have a deeper bond, you may even share the reason why. You may even say like, oh man, something's been going on with school. And I'm just like, well, you may share with the sisters as well, but then you also want to share with him privately. It can be all sorts of reasons why the sister just wants to speak with him privately, or she may want him to give her counsel, whatever. And then she goes to the sisters and share with them like, this is what was told to me. So it really depends on what the situation is. But as long as there's communication, sisters should be able to understand Oh, okay. I understand why you want that alone time. And yeah, and sometimes when it's not communicated, it can come off as like you're not for me. You're not for sisterhood. You don't care about me. Like you just want him and that's it. You don't want the whole entire family. You don't, so it's just different rules. And like I said, it's the people that destroys or that makes the structure a problem. And when there's lack of cooperation, lack of responsibility, there may be people who are not doing anything. You may be like cleaning and stuff, and you have somebody that never cleans. They always leave a mess, and then you like, oh my goodness, you know. And yeah, and then there's a situation where that sister they may go and tell the head like we've talked to her over and over. She's just doing this, she's doing that, and then everybody has to come together, and you're like, all right, like what's going on with you, So if a sister cannot receive constructive criticism, then she's going to be upset that the sisters all told the head and stuff, and it became this problem because multiple people have an issue with it. Like, come on now, like you being dirty, like who likes that? So I'm just throwing out different scenarios because in relationships, anything can be a problem and anything can be happening inside a relationship, and there's all sorts of different like uh, lifestyles that people have, and so you never know what could come up. You never know, and people have their own individual problems, their own careers and stuff like that, their own passions and their own they may value different things. And so I'm doing my best to share like different examples of what it looks like, and I'm just flowing in this one. So hopefully I am being clear and all the points make sense. I kind of feel like I'm all over the place, but it's okay. This is just a conversation. Also, when it comes to a polygamous dynamic, managing jealousy is important. That's something that could be communicated as well, letting the sister know, like, oh man, I'm so jealous. Like, I am jealous right now, and she may have multiple sisters, share with her, like, no, sis, you shouldn't be feeling this way. Like, you got this skill, like you awesome, you great. Sisters are wonderful, giving like bigging their sister up and supporting her and giving her words of affirmations. Other sisters are great at doing that. So just having other sisters around that can share that with you, or even if you are going through a hard time with the head, they'll be there to uplift you. Like it's okay, sis, things are gonna get better. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna help you. We're gonna, So it's like it's nice to have other sisters there to support in that as well. Um, so yes, managing jealousy through communication, and also that sister, she has to do some internal work. Um, According to scripture, jealousy is not something that is normalized in Hebraic culture. It's not normalized. Jealousy is not supposed to exist inside of a righteous household. And if it does exist, then the sisters are working on it. Whoever it is, the man sisters, they all will be working on something like that if they find out they have some jealousy or anger or any type of like negative emotion that is really like could be a problem for everybody. um they are working on it. So it's not to be normalized. Say like, oh, sisters get jealous, that's just normal. Like, oh, she's jealous because there's another man around. Okay, well, you're not supposed to be jealous. So that's not another sister's problem. And I also like seeing a video too. It was a sister she was talking about her experience as first wife, and then there was another sister talking about her experience as second wife. And it seemed like the interviewer was trying to make the second wife feel a little guilty because she was like, the first wife felt some type of way. And she was like, well, you did come into their relationship trying to make the second wife feel like kind of bad about that. But it's like the first wife agreed to live the same culture. So nobody came and messed up what she was doing or anything like that. There was an agreement and she agreed to it. So many times when sisters like, there's a falling out with other sisters or there's issues, they'll turn around and blame like, well, how'd you expect me to act? We're doing some polygyny. Of course I'm gonna be jealous. Of course I'm gonna be insecure. And it's like, no, you should have said from the very beginning that that's not something that you want to engage in. Not turn around and blame that person saying like, well, what do you expect? It's like, we'll expect you to not act like you're okay with polygyny when you're really not. To act like you value sisterhood when you really don't. That's what I'm sure a man is expecting you to be honest and upfront and transparent and truthful from the very beginning. But that's when it goes back to that lack of accountability. That harms like any sort of relationship, and I'll share how it harms. I just gave an example, but it harms collision dynamics as well, because let's say a conflict occurs between two sisters, and if that is not resolved, then I did mention this, like they may go to the head and he may have to come in and resolve it, and then now there's tension between the two sisters. They may be like, okay, you went and go told him this so you can look good, and so now there's more tension, because the sisters won't take accountability. Like, you was the problem, just say you was the problem so we can all move on. She'll harper on it and say like, yeah, y'all all against me and y'all don't like me, and that's the type of person that would leave and go tell everybody, yeah, I would never do polygynous king because they was doing this and they was doing that, all because that person really didn't want to take accountability. So polygyny don't is nation building doesn't abide by the same rules as monogamous relationships. Inside of polygyny, you have to have healthy relationships. And it's even more important when there's more people. It's even more important to be healthy as a person, because it can be even more people are being affected. More people are being affected. So, it's real deep. You have to really know relationship dynamics. You have to really understand psychology, sociology. You have to really understand these aspects in order to navigate with different people. So, like I shared, in the beginning, a polygynous household doesn't automatically equate to teamwork. It definitely exposes if um, a person really has the emotional discipline for it. You know, it exposes who a person is. So that concludes, this Sabbath conversation. I will that you gained something out of it and it was helpful, and just share your thoughts and in the comments, and I'd love to hear your feedback on if you are involved in the polygynous dynamic. What are some of the tips and things that you've learned, wisdom that you've learned that you can share with other sisters, as far as the perspective that you have now. All right, Shabbat Shalom, peace.